Do you know who you are? What's important for you? What do you like? Have you ever asked yourself these questions? And if you did ask yourself, who was the one asking the questions? Now, I read this idea from the book The Daily Stoic, this idea of knowing yourself before it's too late, asking these deep questions. And basically, if you don't know this book, it's great. It basically has a meditation, a lesson for every single day of the year. And this is on December 17th that I read this. And I just, this idea really just smacked me in the face, this realization. And I wanted to just share it with you and to make a video about it. So here I am. And before I get on, I'd like to read you this little quote attached to this idea. It goes like this: "Death lies heavy upon one who, known exceedingly well by all, dies unknown to himself." Now, it's not rare to see people with a lot of influence, these celebrities, that have almost like no self-awareness, that don't know themselves. Or maybe they have identified themselves way too much with their public image, and now they don't know who they truly are. Like a bunch of random fans know a lot of trivial like shit about them, but maybe because they're just too busy, or because it's uncomfortable. The celebrities don't know a lot about themselves. Now we can also do the same thing. We can also get lost in our tasks, in our duties, in our work, in social media, like messing our mental health and our brain up. And we can also do the same thing. We can also get lost in our tasks, in our duties, in our work, in entertainment, in social media, messing up our brain and our mental health. That we're almost like passing through the day unconsciously. We're so hooked by work, by social media, by YouTube, that we rarely stop and think to ourselves that I'm alive, that I'm here, I'm conscious, that how crazy all of this is, that you're hearing what I'm saying right now. You're taking that vibration from the air and turning it into sound, and you're turning photons from the air and from the sun and turning it into the image of a sun. And that you're here, you're alive, you're conscious, how crazy all of that is. And we rarely stop and ask ourselves questions like, who am I? What do I want to do with my life? How do I want to spend it? How do I want to live it? What do I desire? What do I want? Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that I'm doing all of these things. I'm making this video because I'm not doing them. I'm making this video as a great reminder for us to reflect more, to become more aware of this fact that we're alive, this great mystery. Like, I also get hooked on YouTube, on work, on social media and all of that shit. I also don't reflect a lot. This is why I'm making this video, as a great reminder for everyone. Because I think that it's important that we just stop sometimes and to contemplate. Sit there in silence and ask ourselves these kind of questions. I think that's essential, really. And now you have time to reflect. You have right now time to know yourself, to understand yourself better. And I do mean right now. What's stopping you from pausing the video and asking yourself these questions? What's stopping you from pausing the video and just sitting there in silence, contemplating? Like, really, if you click off YouTube right now and go contemplate, sit in silence, this video has achieved its purpose. To remind you to contemplate, to reflect. I'm making this video to actually help you. Because if I was just making it for myself, I would want you to stay here for as long as possible. But I'm telling you to click off this video. You sitting in silence, just journaling, contemplating about these questions. Who am I? What do I want to do with my life? How do I want to live it? Like, that would be a much better way to spend your time than just watching random YouTube videos now, wouldn't it? So really, what's stopping you from clicking off of YouTube and contemplating? Do it. You're only stopping yourself. Stop consuming so much and just sit there in silence. Now, if you're still here, let's talk about something interesting. Like, if you didn't ask yourself, who am I? Let's talk about that question a little bit, because it's one of the most fascinating questions that there is. Who am I? Because now, when you ask yourself that, who is asking the question? Because now, you see, we have this idea of ourselves as a sensitive core or a ruling principle that is just behind our eyes and between our ears, and that's me. And we think that this me is coming into contact with this alien external world that is separate from us, that is separated from us by our skin, and that we're this lonely ego trapped away in our body, completely separated by its surroundings. And sometimes we don't identify with all of ourselves. In language, we say that I have a body, not I am a body. But who has that body? Who owns that body? Who is that? Or we think that me, what is me, is just here somewhere in the head, and the rest is just dangling off. That is my body. Now things get interesting when you ask yourself, is this me? Or is this separate from me? What happens when I cut it off? So we start looking at our bodies as a taxi driver looks at its car. We think that we're a chauffeur inside of our bodies. That we're this little guy in our head, with monitors, seeing everything what the eye gets in, like with his little headphones that is directly connected to the ears, and he's hearing also everything, and he has this great machine in front of him pressing the buttons. And that's me. That's that little guy inside of our head that's always talking. We start to have this idea that we are the chauffeur of our bodies, the driver of our bodies. Now, as far as I know, you are your whole body. There is not a separate me, and then there's the body, and that me owns the body. You are beating your heart, breathing your breath, growing your hair. You are doing all of this, even though you can't explain it. You know how to do it. Just because you do it. You know it, but you can't explain it. You do it spontaneously, just like everything else is happening around us. If you were to ask a tree, how is he growing an apple? He couldn't respond. He couldn't tell you. Because he doesn't know, just as you don't know how you grow your hair, or how you grow your brain, or anything like that. And now you see, you're not separate from your environment, from this external world. In fact, you're inseparable from it. Because let's say if I try to define this organism, this living organism, I can't define it separated from its environment. I have to define also the environment which it's in. Because any organism acts differently in any environment. So they are inseparable. Who you are is this environment organism. Just put it together. You are just as inseparable from the external world as flowers are inseparable from bees. Because you won't find any bees where there are no flowers. And you won't find any flowers where there are no bees or bugs that do the same job. They are inseparable, and thus they create one organism. Because when you have these differences, black and white, or up and down, selling, buying, explicitly they are different. They are as different as they can be, but implicitly, behind the scenes, they have this secret conspiracy that they are one and the same thing. That they are one thing. They are inseparable. They can't exist without each other. They arise mutually. And this whole universe is a great system of these inseparable differences that are implicitly one and the same thing. So self, who you are, and other is also inseparable. This self and what is not me. You can't have one without the other, which means that implicitly they are the same thing, that they are just one thing, one organism. Just like you can't have an inside without an outside, and every inside has an outside, and every outside has an inside. You can't have them without each other. And now I read this in a lot of places, that this illusion of the self, the illusion of the ego, that who we think we are, this image that we have of ourselves, is an illusion. That the ego, the image we have of ourselves, the thoughts of ourselves, is just that. They are just thoughts. They are just memories. And they have no any like real substance to it. It has the same kind of reality, the ego, as the reality of a measurement, of a meter or a foot or a pound. Because these are just imaginary. Like, meters don't really exist. Like, we just put over, like, the equator. That doesn't exist. Or the lines on the earth, you know that. That doesn't exist. We just thought about that. And we just like mentally put it over and like draw those lines. Because you can't tie a present with the equator, like, can you? The image of ourselves, this ego, this self, is kind of like that illusion. It's a social convention. It makes communication much more easier, thinking in these abstract ways, because that's what it is. This ego is an abstract thing. I'm not saying that you don't exist as a living organism. No, that's real, that's you. But the you, that abstract you, that's the image of you, the thought of you, that is illusionary or whatever, however you say it. And our mind is just creating these stories of ourselves, these thoughts of ourselves, and getting it from memory also. Because our mind is very notorious for creating false stories, because it's trying to interpret the world through stories. And most of the time, the stories that it tells are just complete bullshit. They are just not true. They're false stories that seem real and convincing, but they are just that, stories. They're not true. So yeah, we kind of got off topic there a little bit from asking yourself some questions, but this is really interesting, this question of who are you? So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hope this was interesting, hope this was helpful. Thank you for being here. Now you can go and contemplate in silence and think about these things. So thank you for watching, thank you for your presence. All the love towards you. Have a great day and goodbye.